welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about my favorite beginner tarantula and my essentially patient zero. She was my first tarantula, and basically kind of going over what she is, where she comes from, and why I am partial to her as a beginner tarantula. Now keep in mind, everybody is going to have their different preferences on what exactly is a great beginner tarantula, but this one is my personal favorite. And we'll get into why here in a little bit. So this is my GBB, or Chromatopelma cyanopubescens. They're also known as a green bottle blue, boo, or a GBB. And her name is Calypso, and she is a confirmed female. So a little bit about Calypso is I got her April 20th, 2017 with one other spider who I will cover in a different video. And she was my very, very first unboxing. I remember I unboxed her first. And since then, she has grown from a little 3/4 of an inch sling into this beautiful subadult female. Now, I haven't really seen her much since her last molt. She does come out every now and then, but for the most part, she's been kind of reclusive, buried under her substrate in her little den. So I'm going to see if I can try to get her to come out with a superworm. So we'll just pop this off and kind of take a peek into her enclosure. And as you can see, she has webbed up a lot of what's in there. Now, a lot of people put plants in their enclosures. I don't for her, just because she really doesn't do anything with them. She doesn't use them as anchor points, nor does she really web them up. So I added 2 pieces of cork bark and started a dent actually in this one, but she has made her home in that one. So we'll get into this. So Calypso I got a year ago, and I got her is, I would say, probably about a 1/2 inch long sling. She was little. I'd probably lean more towards a 3/4 of an inch. So a 3/4 inch sling or spiderling roughly goes between $35 and $40-ish, depending on where you go, how you find them. You know, you can go to an expo, you can order them online, or sometimes, maybe on a rare occasion, you can find them in a pet shop. I actually ordered her online, so I paid roughly around $35, and then I had to pay, I think it was like $40 for shipping. So the ballpark price without shipping is between $35 and $40-ish. GBBs come from an arid tropical desert region in Venezuela, and they're often found in web burrows under plants. As you can tell, I mean, that's pretty much what she's got going on here, is she's just kicked in that natural instinct to go up and under. When she was little, however, she was out pretty much all the time. I could always see her, and she was a great display tarantula. So that's a good thing to have, especially if you really like looking at a tarantula, is that these guys are a very good display for the most part. They're known for being docile yet skittish. So this is not one. A lot of people on YouTube and on Facebook groups do handle the tarantulas. I personally do not, because they gain nothing of it. But if you do handle, this is not one I would recommend handling, just because of that skittish nature. They're kind of unpredictable. So that being said, however, she is a fantastic eater. That's why I'm kind of expecting her to actually eat for me today. They never really turned down a meal. When she was a baby, she would, about 2-3 days before she molted, refuse to eat. Now that she's gotten older, she does eat even in pre-molt. So that's always a plus. A lot of the other beginner geniuses, like the Brachypelma and the Grammostola, are pretty notorious for really not wanting to eat and going through fasting periods. So for a new keeper, that to me is really stressful to think about. Whereas the GBB is always willing to eat for the most part. And I personally find that a fantastic trait of theirs. Adults, you want to keep in a dry, well-ventilated enclosure. So her enclosure is, as you can tell, pretty much bone dry. However, I do keep a water bowl and I do mist on the occasion because you have to think of weather patterns down in Venezuela. Even though it is a desert, it still does rain sometimes. Slings, however, you want to keep more on the moist side. So when she was a baby, what I would do is I would keep a water bowl in there, but at the same time, half of her enclosure I would water down lightly, just because slings of really any genius are more prone to dehydration. So I really wanted to make sure that she was well hydrated. Now, GVBs, a lot of the time on Facebook groups, you'll find that it is controversial, kind of, that they're arboreal, that they're phosphorial, that they're, this, that they're that. And really, what it boils down to is that they are a terrestrial tarantula, which means they live on the ground. But they will use anything near them, as you can tell from her enclosure, to web that up. They will use as an anchor. And a lot of people think, well, that they do that, that must mean they're arboreal. And they're really not. They're really a terrestrial. So when she was little, like when I first got her, she molted pretty frequently. And that's a common thing with GBBs from my knowledge and understanding, is that 3/4 of an inch to 2 inches and around 2 inches, 2 3/4 inch slings will molt about every 2 months. Her as a baby, she would molt about every 1.5. And young adults, from my understanding, is once every 4. So she just molted beginning of April, end of March. So she probably won't molt until sometime in the summer, towards the end. Another thing you have to consider is because of their nature. Even though I personally feel that they're a great beginner tarantula because they are a little bit less stressful than the other beginners, they are skittish and they do have a tendency to be kind of speedy. So whether or not, oh, here she comes. You can kind of see her right there. Oh, is she gonna come out? Hey, so you can kind of see her right there, her little abdomen and her legs. I think she's just getting comfortable. They are, I'm trying to figure out how to, you need to use caution with them. You need to be kind of prepared and kind of expect them to be unpredictable. I think she might be coming out. Ooh, super worm. So that being said, I will attempt to feed her and see if maybe she wants to get some food. But as a baby, they do look completely different. When she was itty bitty, she was orange and black. And now you can see she's blue, and then on her legs, she's got these really pretty orange hairs. She's just really gorgeous. And I really love that about her, her transformation from this orange and black, basically little sling, to this really pretty green and orange and blue, beautiful animal. She's just so beautiful. And that's another thing. When I first got into tarantulas, I was an arachnophobe. Let's see if I can zoom in on her. Not scaring her too much because she is pretty skittish since her last molt. She's just staring at me. Like, are you going to feed me, or why is my lid off? Why do I have air blowing on me? When I first got into tarantulas, I was a huge arachnophobe. And I went on Facebook to try to find like the best fit for me, because I felt like if it was pretty and not so fast and not aggressive, that, well, defensive, that's the technical term, is defensive. No tarantula is really aggressive because it's not like they seek you out to hurt you. But I went in to find something pretty that would be a display animal and kind of always out there, and I was recommended a GBB by numerous of groups, and so I got her, and then I got my Carabina Versicolor, who is named Nagini, who I will show in a separate video. But she's been a real delight. Her rehousings have been pretty easy. This is just my experience. A lot of the times people have problems with them going not the direction they want to, but with her, it's always been pretty easy to rehouse her. She's been pretty relaxed for the most part. So I went ahead and gave her the superworm off camera. I also did water her. So, excuse me. Another good point to have with them is, I have literally been sitting here with this lid off, just kind of admiring her, is they are a very pretty tarantula as adults. As slings, they change so, comparing from a sling to an adult of this genus and species, of this animal in general, they do transform completely. When she was a baby, she was this little bitty orange and black spiderling, and now that she's gotten older, you can see she's got the superworm in there. So you can kind of get kind of close. She was orange and black, and then as she got older and molted and grew a little bit, she's got this beautiful orange and green and blue body to her. So that's always a really fun thing to witness, is see the difference in growth and how they change. And my experience with her has been just so rewarding. She's always been I just find them excellent to begin with. They're really not defensive. They are skittish, but I've never gotten a threat pose from her or had her kick hairs. And she is considered a new world, so a defense mechanism for her is, the first thing is to kick hairs whenever she feels threatened. And I've never gotten either or from her, even though she is a very skittish tarantula. She's just making her feeding mat now. And that's one thing that I really, really enjoy about her, is in comparison to my pulchra, my G. pulchra and my G. porteri, she really isn't as grumpy as they are. There's her little abdomen, her little legs. She's pretty chill. My porteri, Mimi, did give me a threat pose once. She didn't kick hairs at all. She just went straight to the threat pose. While she has been pretty much a good girl and pretty easy to please. And she's making a feeding mat now. So for a beginner that you're looking for something that's really colorful and a really rewarding experience to watch them grow, I definitely recommend a GBB. They're so much fun. And I'm just so glad I got her. She is relatively fast growing in comparison to the other two. If I didn't say that earlier, I think I might have. So while she took roughly about a year to get to her size, and I wish she'd come out so we could see how big she is, but roughly in comparison to the growth rates to where she's at now to where my pulchra is, my pulchra's name is Thing, they take forever. So they are a very fast growing species, which makes it so much better because you're not waiting forever for them to molt or mature and just grow in general. But I think I'm going to conclude this and let her enjoy her superworm. You guys have a good night, and thanks for watching.